Well, I am Neil Adler, and I'd like to welcome everyone. Here as part of our conversation here with co-ops and employee ownership and succession planning. I am from Mission College out in Silicon Valley, and I have here with me Kirk Vartan, who had a very successful co-op business that he created with the Slice of New York down in the South Bay. So I'd really like to welcome everyone in. If you have any questions, please do so in the chat function on your right, and that will allow you to ask any questions you have as we go on. Hope to have a very free-flowing conversation here and be able to chat as we get going. Also want to remind you to continue this conversation or to gain practical transition skills, consider joining the center and participate in their upcoming Next Generation Institute, the NGI, which you are a part of today. More information for the NGI is on the center's website at gellertfbc.org. So I appreciate everyone for joining us this afternoon for about 30 minutes as we talk small businesses. And as we realize with small businesses is that there is a silver tsunami coming. A lot of businesses, your favorite local business is, trying to survive, not only because of this pandemic and everything that's happened with COVID, but also because the owners are getting older. The owners want to move on and maybe have some vacation time. The owners want to give their business to their kids. Maybe they want to give it to their owners. So that's why we have Kirk here from A Slice of New York, who's going to talk a little bit about that. And why don't we start it off this, Kirk, in regards to A Slice of New York. Why did you think it was important as an owner of Slice of New York to move to a succession planning like employee ownership?
Well, thanks, Neil. And for those that didn't see, we have a poll over on the right, on that little upper right corner. If you click on poll, we're just kind of trying to see who is where in the spectrum of business owners or government officials or stuff like that. That helps us kind of gear some of these questions and kind of dialogue to you. I'm originally from New York. We opened up, I came out to California to work in high tech. I was in high tech for about 9 years out here, and we opened up a local pizza shop because coming from New York City, pizza is what we do, what we eat, and I didn't find that what I was looking for, so we opened that up. And one of the things that we wanted to do was have some way of having employee ownership. I used to work at Cisco. We used to have a little bit of stock. I mean, just a wee bit of stock, but it was enough to show pride of business. And it's like I felt I was an owner of Cisco, even though I owned rounding error versions of stock. My wife and I, we felt like we were owners. We always wanted to have that in our business when we created A Slice of New York, our local pizza shop here in Santa Clara, California. Unfortunately, that did not happen initially because, frankly, the awareness of what options existed just were not known by our local attorney, and he didn't know. He's like, you can't do that. There's no way to do what you're trying to do for a retail business like yours. So we didn't do that. We did things that we wanted to do. We have a very empowered team. We had bonuses that we gave at the end of the year. We did annual reviews, performance evaluations, and we're pretty transparent with our team. Fast forward till about 6 years ago, we wanted to really push farther and say, listen, we want to have an employee-owned business. And what does that look like? How do we make that work? So we actually created a business development team internally of about 14 people, 14 of our employees. And we started talking about it. Like, what does it look like? What are we trying to achieve? And Aaron, one of our team members, discovered a couple of employee ownership strategies. One being worker cooperatives, another being employee ownership stock option, which is an ESOP. And that was a lot of regulatory, a little more expensive to figure out. But the worker cooperative model really aligned with our culture of employee empowerment. And so that's really why we kind of focused on that and went with some of the experts to really learn about what that looks like and how we move forward.
And Kirk, one thing we definitely want to put forth in this conversation, and everyone who has joined, please just shoot over to the poll tab. Let us know who you are, just so we have kind of an idea of who's in the room as a reminder. But for Kirk, for you, and something really to remember is co-ops are not this big socialist thing that you're in it to better everyone and not make money. This is a very much a business transaction, and I think that's very important to put forth out there. Correct, Kirk?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's I always lead with that. Like, we did it for different reasons. We did it because we wanted to create an environment where we wanted to have employees owning the business and having responsibilities and kind of lifting them up. That is not necessarily why someone wants to take this route. This is a business transaction. It is a sale. Make no bones about it. You are doing this to make money as an owner. So, and I'm looking at about 36% of the people in this poll right now, and I encourage everybody keep filling that out. It's great. They answered, I own a business and want to retire, sell, work less in my business, and meaning, but I have no succession plan. So what do you do? And you can try and give it to your family or sell it to your family. Unfortunately, that happens about 10 to 12% of the time. The reality is 80+% of the businesses that want to sell can't sell because there's no buyer out there. But the reality is the buyers can be your people, your workers, your employees that have made your business successful, have made it work the way it is, and is what makes it special now and makes it successful. And so what you do in this, it is a transaction. It is a sale. You get paid. In our case, we held the note. So the actual note of the business, we get paid every month by the business through the profits in the business, kind of like a leveraged buyout. But you don't have to do it that way. You can get paid out by a bank. There are banks that will fund a sale. So you might have to maybe put 20%, take a 20% note, but then the bank will actually fund the rest of the business transaction, and you get paid out 80%. And then over the next 3 to 5 years, you get 20% left as you get paid out. So, but it is a transaction, and I always lead with that. It is not about taking care of the workers. It's not about doing, what, love and peace, and it's the right thing to do. It has nothing to do with that. This is a viable business model that works for the owner. It happens to work for the employees, and it happens to work for the community too. But make no bones about it, it takes care of the owner.
And Kirk, some successful, co-op businesses, REI is probably the biggest example in the United States. That is an employee-owned business. Credit unions, also, dairy farms as well.
Yep. Yeah. So, and you mentioned a couple. So you mentioned REI. That's what's known as a consumer cooperative. So anyone who's a member of REI or is a consumer of REI, you're known as a member, and you get a check at the end of the year. It may be $10 or $30. It's based on how much you buy and generate profits for the company, and you get a return, a dividend on that. Credit unions, you mentioned, a great example. Those are all financial cooperatives. So you have to be a member. You become a member of the credit union, and the discounts and the interest that you earn are reflected that all the profits go back into its members. And the dairy farmers, like you mentioned, those are producer cooperatives. They produce goods to other distributors. So there are various, and we're talking about a worker cooperative where the workers are the members. So in order to be a member of our co-op, you need to work in our business.
And Kirk, just looking at the folks in the room, there are some, government or elected officials in the room. So hopefully you are elected in the next, election. Good luck on that. But also want to let you know that part of this co-op situation we have down here in the South Bay in Santa Clara is we are working with the city of Santa Clara. Kirk, is definitely an advocate for the city council and with the business development committee, and has really stepped up, and the city of Santa Clara has really stepped up to help those businesses that don't have the succession plan. That's how Mission College, one of the community colleges down here in Santa Clara, came to know Kirk and know, the city of Santa Clara and their co-op businesses, is how can government agencies help these businesses survive? And Kirk, I think you probably can mention some of the things that you've done with the city of Santa Clara and other entities about, that has really, helped co-op businesses actually get a voice in this conversation around what are we doing with this 20-year-old business that everyone loves, but the owner is getting older and wants to go on vacation, and wants to do something with it, but really isn't sure.
Yeah, no, I mean, you did a really good job of painting the canvas here. The reality is you can choose to exit the business or not exit the business. In our case, I'm the general manager of the business. I did not leave. I could have. We converted almost 4 years. It'll be 4 years ago this July 1st, 2017 is when we converted. But Santa Clara is really providing a leadership role here in the South Bay, and they invested not just their energy, but also their finances, their money. They invested $100,000 directly into a worker cooperative initiative right here in Santa Clara. So if you're a business in Santa Clara, we have resources here that we'll provide at the end of this session. I have a slide deck, which I'm not going to go through here, but it shows some of the challenges that we've hit, some of the opportunities, some of the guidelines that we laid out, and a whole lot of resources to get to, links on how to get to more information. But to get to what can government, if you're a government official now or you work in the government, the biggest problem, the number one problem that worker cooperatives have right now is awareness. No one knows what a worker cooperative is. And I don't know, we didn't ask, have you ever heard of a worker cooperative on this particular poll? But the problem, and it's not just the consumers, it's not just the owners, it's the electeds, it's the staff. It's nobody really understands what a co-op is. Nobody understands what a worker cooperative is. And that's the biggest challenge is there's no awareness. It's another tool for things that you consider for your financial planning and for your exit strategy. Everybody has to exit their business at some point. Everybody dies. Everybody moves on. And that is reality. And so you need to have a system, something to think about. And, some people sell, some people close, some people give to their family, or they try to do those things. This is another way to preserve your business, get paid for it, and to keep it as a legacy item in the community. So I'm also working with what's called the Work Coalition, the Worker-Owned Recovery California, working at the state level with assembly members and state senators at the state level to lead policy on how to make more awareness and more policies around worker cooperatives, as well as Congressman Ro Khanna. He's leading a national effort to get more legislation introduced at the national level, and there should be a bill coming out in the next month or two that he's authored and is getting championed. But there is already, just please know, there is already legislation out there that allows for worker cooperatives to exist. We were an LLC. We form under the LLC. We operate under the LLC financial structure as a worker cooperative limited liability company. So the California recognizes this type of organization, and there are tax advantages and strategies on how to utilize that. And that's a whole different part of the discussion, but I won't jump ahead.
And for the city, what the city does is they connect like-minded organizations. That's why they connected a place like Mission College that we can provide for businesses, say business classes, accounting classes, project management classes, you name it. Your local community college can probably help both your owners and your employers out in trying to make that business better. And for you, Kirk, as an owner going on 4 years now, what are 3 or 4 things that you want people to remember in, say, the next 15 minutes about the succession planning for co-ops?
So the biggest takeaway, so there are a couple of big takeaways. I'm glad you gave me 3 or 4 to mention. I'll mention 2 big ones. The biggest one, I think, is your culture of your business. The co-ops aren't for everybody. It's not like the magic thing that solves everybody's problems. Absolutely not. Do not think that. If you're a failing business, this is not a model. I mean, it could be, but that's not the target here. That at least that we're speaking to today. Having a culture of empowered employees that take pride in what they do and that have made your business successful, that is a good recipe for how to build a successful worker cooperative. Being transparent about the decisions that you're making, bringing your employees into the conversations. Don't just say, hey, tomorrow we're going to be a worker cooperative. Congratulations, owners. Not a good plan. It's a process. You need to inform, educate, and make sure that people understand what they're getting into. What does it mean to be an owner? What is ownership mentality? What responsibilities do you expect of your workers if they're going to take the reins of this business? And then frankly, what is your role as an owner? Are you going to step back? Are you going to be involved? Are you going to transition out over time? All of those things are possible. The beauty of the co-op model is you are creating your own entity, and you can create it any way you want. All co-ops share similar values. They share values of collaboration and cooperation with each other, community, supporting community and valuing community, transparency, open decision process, and open access to information. We do something called open book management, which means our books are open. Anybody at our company can look at the financial structure, all of the committees that we have. We have 5 committees that we work on right now that focus on, one is culture and accountability, finance and employee benefit, innovation committee, health and safety committee, and we now have a merchandising and marketing committee. All of those things help drive people's mentality of being an owner and caring about the strategic nature of the business, which is completely separate from the operational role they do in the business. So when you're an owner and you're working, like in our case, working on the table, stretching a pie on the table, you're a worker. You're not an owner at that time. You always have that owner mentality, but you're not bossing people around or anything like that. That's the job of the operations folks, the manager. I'm the general manager. That's my job, is to manage the business operations, totally separate from the governance and the strategic nature of owning a business. So you need to mentally separate ownership, operations. Like, those things are very, very different. Now, you can have ownership interests while you're operating, but it doesn't mean you are acting as an owner in terms of managing the day-to-day business. They're very different things, and it takes a while to digest that.
No, Kirk, that's a very good point. You have to separate the actual owner part of it and the actual operations part of it.
Right.
And we have about 14 minutes to go. If anyone has questions, please toss those in the questions tab as well. But you did a touch on finances, and so let's talk a little bit about how much this would cost and how long this takes.
So becoming a co-op can take, in current model, between 12 to 24 months. It might take 18 months, it may take 14 months, but you should expect to take at least a year, given current methods for converting people to cooperatives with the current technical assistance. It'll cost you between $15,000 and $30,000 to do. Now, if you have a business that you're trying to sell for 50 grand, that might not make a lot of sense to spend that kind of money. You can do stuff independently. That's if you get full service, a company like Project Equity or other technical assistance providers to help you through that process. But if you think about putting your business, say you have a $500,000 value business or $300,000 value business, if you put that up for sale, you're probably going through a broker, you're paying fees and all that. So if you net out the time and what you're trying to do and the costs, I think you'll see it's a very competitive way to approach exiting your business from a succession strategy. What I've been working on through the Work Coalition and with Mission College is a way to streamline some of those things to convert quicker, be more engaged right up front with all the workers that are investing their time and energy right up front. We call it like Rapid Conversion Academy, where you actually come in and learn the skills right away as a real hands-on in a cohort format and things like that in terms of an approach. Now, that is a kind of a new way to approach these conversion things that hasn't been fleshed out yet. That's something that we are working on with Mission College as an idea. If that's something that you're interested in, I would encourage you to reach out to Niall, or like I said, there's going to be follow-up information. You can follow up with me or others as part of this program.
And I put in the chat our website, coop.missioncollege, Doesn't just have information about co-ops, but also different, offerings that Mission College has. And also we are working with the city of Milpitas on a Trade 101 seminar as well. So we're doing a lot of different things to build up small businesses. At the end of the day, we want small businesses to survive, and we want them to strive. And anything that Mission College can do, anything the city of Santa Clara can do, Kirk with the Slice of New York, we're kind of all in this together.
And I see there's a question popped up, and
great.
I want to jump right on that because to me, if you have burning questions, specific questions to me individually or in general, I encourage you to ask those. But the first question I see here is how to finance purchase from owner to co-op. Does Project Equity provide technical assistance? The answer is Project Equity does provide technical assistance. We use Project Equity. There are other companies that do this, but Project Equity is an expert in this area. They're located here in the Bay Area. And the financing, you can choose to finance directly yourself, like as an owner. How does that work? If you're familiar with what a leveraged buyout is, you actually use the profits of the business over time to pay for the note. So over a 3 to 5 year or 6 year process, you hold the note like we hold the note in our business. And over a 6 year period, the business profits pay that note. We have a 6% loan right now that we worked out with the co-op. You can go through a bank. There are banks that do specifically worker ownership conversion stuff. So I would encourage you to, there are a lot of, we can't get into details on all of those things, but just understand you can do things personally or you can do things through traditional methods.
And with about 10 minutes left, I'll obviously, ask any questions you might have as they pop up. One thing you mentioned, previously in other conversations we've had is how much does it cost for the actual employee to be part of, this co-op management structure?
So we have and again, this is going to be part of the collateral we'll leave behind with you. It's a PDF that we'll provide. We have requirements. If you're going to apply to be a member of the co-op, we have certain requirements for the individual. They have to be with us a year or 1,200 hours. You have to commit to being with the company for 2 years, or you lose part of your deposit. We require a $3,000 payment to buy the share of the co-op, and that gives you that ownership access. Now that payment we have it being spread out over a 2 year period. So we're not trying to make it a barrier for anybody, but we want them to take it seriously. For example, if they decide to leave the co-op before their 2 year commitment, you can. There's no contract. This is not changing the laws, the laws around California at will employment. It is not a contract. But if they leave, $750 of their $3,000 membership is actually kept in the business because they did not fulfill their commitment. And what happens is from a worker perspective, over time, when the business's profits generate beyond whatever their expenses are, there's actually profits in the business, you pay out patronage, profit sharing, the value that you contributed based on equity, meaning not how much you spent into the business, but how much you work in the business. So Neil, if you worked 40 hours a week and I worked 20 hours a week, you would have access to twice the profit of the business than I would because you worked twice as much as I did.
Now, Kirk, you've done this for 4 years. You've talked about a lot of the benefits that go on in regards to co-op ownership. What are some of the challenges that came up as you've gone through this that you can share?
I'd say the biggest challenge is, like I said, awareness and informing your team, making sure that everybody has the knowledge and information of what's expected of them. It's all about setting expectations. If you're expecting someone to be an owner, you need to inform them and educate them what being an owner actually is. You can't just say, well, good luck. You have now, the keys or the reins, off you go. You need to give them the tools to be successful in that. And that to me is one of the hardest things, is because in our case, we're a manual labor business. You're actually working hard, and you're not sitting at a desk. You're not punching keys. You are stretching. You are prepping. You are cleaning. You are on your feet. So finding the time to engage people where they are and to have them absorb that information on their own time is hard, because their personal time is so limited that it's hard for them to carve out time. And I'll tell you, even as recently as the last couple years, it's been hard for us as a business to make time for people to learn, and for them to make time to learn. Now, I want to share, we have just a couple minutes left. I want to share one example of the difference between governance and operations, and how a co-op works. So my job as a general manager, my job is to take care of the people. It's not to figure out how to maximize profits for an individual. It's how do I maximize profits for the business, but ultimately to take care of the workers that are there. That's my job. And when the pandemic broke out, we're a slice business, slice in New York, right? We sell slice, we sell pizza. We stopped selling our slice business. We proactively did a number of things. We massed our team 6 weeks before the mandates came out. We stopped indoor dining weeks before it was required. And I proactively discontinued the access to slices, because slices is like kind of window shopping. I'll have one of those. It was just the wrong behavior in a pandemic. That I did that from a health and safety perspective. I informed the team and told them what was going to happen, but I did not ask their permission to do that. That is an operational decision that was made. Financial impacts, but it was an operational decision. So kind of black and white, who makes that call? Versus in August, we were able to stay open the entire time, and our team was really starting to break down physically. I mean, arms, shoulders, back. People were starting to get hurt, or just be hurt. And I looked around at our team, and I saw, a majority of our team was just really sacrificing their personal health for coming to work because they had to make money. So I went to the board and said, I'd like to suggest that we support closing both shops for a week and giving everybody paid time off so that they can heal and relax. And we did that. That was a governance decision. That was a board decision. I suggested it, but the board approved that because we wanted to figure out how to take care of our team, and we did that. So that was it. I wanted to give those two examples between an operational decision which impacts the business financially, but really is not up for debate. It's not like consensus based. You make direct actions as a manager, versus closing the business and giving people paid time off, costing business 30, 40 grand to do that, but knowing that that's investing in the team to take care of them long term.
And we just have a couple minutes left. And one question, I guess, to ask you, Kirk, your beginning of the process, you were the business owner. This takes some time. This takes some time to do. How do you carve out that time when you're still trying to run that business?
So my job in doing this is obviously to keep the business running, day-to-day operations, and also find ways to take care of our team. I'm not trying to exit the business. I'm trying to continue to invest in the business. So my role is not the same as someone that might want to see this as an exit strategy, which it absolutely should and can be for anybody that wants it to be that way. The difference is I now am not the only person doing the heavy lifting here. We have committees that are doing work. We have people that are taking on roles that I used to do only, and them sharing in that responsibility. So part of my job is how do you transfer and transition some of that knowledge and information to others during this process. That's the hardest part for me, because that takes time. Like you're spending this much time as an owner. It might go up a little bit initially while you train people, but it will taper off and go down over time once you spend that time and invest your time in your people, so they can take the reins.
And we got about 90 seconds. John has our final question of the afternoon. Considering a co-op versus an ESOP, what factor would go one path or the other? I know you only got about probably 5 seconds.
I will summarize that quickly. So the main difference is in terms of regulation and cost. ESOPs will cost you more upfront. You're required to do annual evaluations. You register with the SEC. It's actually a managed security. And an ESOP is more of a retirement plan for people versus paying them out throughout their tenure with a business. A co-op, much more lightweight, much more nimble, easy to set up, very light, very quick, inexpensive to set up, and has democratic governance, meaning you run it as workers. ESOPs typically do not have a democratic governance structure, and a few people hold all the power to make the decisions. That's kind of the real differences. As
we are out of time, thank you, Kirk, for summarizing what a co-op is. In a worker succession business succession planning. Want to thank everyone for coming out this afternoon and hearing about us. In the chat, we have our website at coop.missioncollege.edu, where you can get a lot of this information. We'll also send some information out as well if you'd like to continue the information. So we will let you know on that. And as always, thank you to the University of San Francisco for having us this afternoon. I am a proud alum of the Hilltops, so had to toss that one in as well. And also to continue the conversation with the Next Generation Institute at gellerfbc.org. So I want to thank you all for coming out this afternoon, and have a great rest of the conference.
Thank you.
Thank you.